So I would like to introduce Professor Prithvi Singh Kandhal, who is currently the Associate Director of the NCAT, which is National Center for Asphalt Technology, which is based in US. And NCAT, if you were to be precise, is the largest asphalt road technology center in the world. And prior to NCAT, he has served as the Chief Asphalt Road Engineer of the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for 17 years. And he has served as a President, International Association of Asphalt Paving Technology, and also as the Chairman, American Society for Testing and Materials International Committee on Road Paving Standards, and Chairman, US Transportation Research Board Committee on Asphalt Roads. And also recently he has developed new standards for IRC, which is Indian Road Congress. He has also got a Lifetime Achievement Award in Asphalt Road Technology from the International Association of Asphalt Paving Technologists during the annual banquet held in Austin, which is at US. We have invited him personally here because based on the requirements that we have received from the site, wherein they wanted to learn more about the advancement in the construction technologies and how advancement in the construction technologies and also about the maintenance. So over to you, sir. So you can actually highlight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we start with the maintenance of bituminous pavement now, because you people sometimes to maintain the BOT projects for like 20-25 years, and hopefully this lecture will be helpful to you on that maintenance of bituminous pavement. This can be like at least two types. Can be more than that. There are two types of maintenance. One is preventive maintenance, the other is corrective maintenance. Preventive maintenance is performed to improve or extend the functional life of the pavement while still in fair to good condition. This phrase is important. While still in fair to good condition. Corrective maintenance, or you can also call it reactive maintenance, is performed to repair pavement which has already developed some distress. Like if you got some potholes or whatever, you have to go with the corrective maintenance. Preventive maintenance. Here are the examples of preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance. Preventive maintenance we can have do with the fog seals, and we will discuss briefly each of them. Can be done with fog seals or surface dressing, slurry seal, microsurfacing, crack sealing. And corrective maintenance, at least one we are going to discuss, is the pothole patching. Let's start with the fog seal first here. Fog seal will stabilize the surface of an oxidized asphalt on verge of raveling and seals it. It is done by applying diluted slow setting emulsion with a bitumen distributor. Application rate depends on the surface texture of the existing asphalt surface. We have to just barely fill the interstices between the exposed aggregate particles. We shouldn't just cover up, the particles in that level. We should not, although they will blacken, but they should wear off. Too much application of fog seal pavement will become slippery and very dangerous. It is generally safe for parking lots and streets with slow speed traffic. Personally, I would not use fog sealing on national highways. Okay, let me go through that, and then I'll show you what happened on one job in the US. Here we are applying a fog seal. It's a diluted slow setting emulsion. Here the right lane has been fog sealed, left lane is to be done. Looks pretty good, black. Okay, but one thing I want to tell you, that I don't want to do it on a national highway, because I can tell you from my experience that in the state of Pennsylvania, we had a district engineer. He wanted to try fog seal, on a national highway. They call it interstate highway there. I said, no, it's not good for that. He said, no, we got to do it. Somebody convinced him that fog seal is good. So I said, okay, I'll come out. So I didn't know how much rate to apply the fog seal. So I applied in like 2 or 3 increments. Every time I applied, I'll take a look, how much surface texture I have filled with the fog seal, so I don't overfill it. So I did in 2 or 3 applications, and then I said, okay, now stop it, and let's keep some sand in case there are some accidents. We have to keep some sand on hand. So luckily there was no problem on that interstate or national highway. But then the district engineer started to do that on other 2 interstate highways, and after 1 month, after he had done 2 or 3 jobs, there were a lot of fatalities, there were traffic fatalities, and then they have to put a moratorium on that. So that's what I'm saying, it's very dangerous. You have to be really careful, do the fog seal like in increments, just to make sure that you don't overfill it. So it's good for parking lot. If you have streets, there's no hardly high speed traffic, there it's safe, but I would never use it on national highways. The other thing we can do preventive maintenance is surface dressing, also called chip seals. We have IRC code 111. It's a very good code on surface dressing. It's a common and cost effective surface treatment to serve as a renewal code for both preventive and periodic maintenance. It's also used as a periodic maintenance for roads other than national highways in India. It is far better than the premix carpet or PMC, which traps water and has poor durability. Surface dressing is widely used in the world. It should replace PMC in India. PMC is not used anywhere in the world except India. Surface dressing involves spraying a thick layer of paving bitumen such as VG10 or rapid setting emulsion. Then we apply cover aggregate of appropriate size with a mechanical chip spreader, and I'll show you some pictures of those. Roll immediately. I can also go for a double surface dressing. I repeat the same thing again, apply the bitumen again, and then the second aggregate should be of smaller size so that it will lock in into the lower layer. I can also use a pre-coated aggregate with 1% bitumen. The aggregate I'm going to apply, I can pre-coat that with 1% in a hot mix plant, and then it will not only impart the black color for the public perception, but it will also minimize the aggregate loss. There is always some loss, in a surface dressing. You cannot avoid that. So here are some pictures of surface dressing. This I think came from Europe. In the front you see a distributor. That yellow is a bitumen distributor with a spray bar on the back, and following this distributor is a chip spreader, and then there's a roller on the back. And here you can see the chip spreader. The bitumen has been already spread. It's a black surface and chip spreader. And we have chip spreader available in India. In Gujarat there are 3-4 companies which are making it. So we can mechanize the whole process, because our old timer engineers say, well, we cannot apply chips, with hand or whatever, but we have chip spreader available now from Gujarat. And then we got to use a pneumatic tire roller, because if we use a steel roller, it might bridge over the depression. This pneumatic tire roller will really do a good job of compressing that cover aggregate into the binder. And here is a full operation, the full train of in the front you see the distributor, in the back you see a chip spreader, and then you see a roller. And this will be the finished surface of a surface dressing. It will have a very high skid resistance. That's what we were using before I went to US. Premix carpet was not very common. I was working for the Rajasthan PWD, and every 4 years we'll just put a layer of surface dressing, really waterproof the road, because I'm putting a very thick film of bitumen, and the contractor cannot cheat on me, because if he doesn't put thick film of the binder, the stone chips won't be retained, just can be swept to the side, So it is much cheaper than the premix carpet. I'll show you the figure here. So now here, so the schematic on the top you see that I have just applied the stone on the bitumen. So the bitumen particles are like haphazard, they just are lying. But after I compact and after the traffic has used it, all these particles will lie in a position which is a very stable position, They won't be like vertical or anything like that. So in B you see the depth of embedment, which usually is about 70%. 70% of the height of the particle, which we also call average least dimension, and in below we see C, that's a average dimension of the stone. 70% of that is embedded in the bitumen, so it doesn't come out. There will be some stones, will be laying on top of it. It will come out, so they will be just swept on the side. That's not a big problem. But this process will really make the surface very waterproof. So surface dressing is a preventive maintenance, is an excellent sealing of road surface with the thick bitumen film. It will minimize the oxidation of bitumen, because the bitumen is in a very thick film, high resistant to skidding. It's very economical. Look at the price of the surface dressing compared to the PMC. Cost per lane kilometer for surface dressing is 2.62 lakhs. Now these figures came from Rajasthan PWD BSR. BSR stands for
schedule of rates.
Schedule of rates, basic schedule of rates. Compared to premix carpet, which was 7.8 lakh rupees, its price is 1/3. The question is that why I am not using surface dressing on the PMGSY road? That's a big question I have raised with the authorities. The whole world is using surface dressing. PMC is only used in India, and we don't know what the life of the PMC is. Some people say 1 year, some people say 2 years. Nobody has any figures. But surface dressing is used throughout the world, and developed world and all that, used worldwide. So that's a big question. I understand that. I don't think we can use it on a NHI job, because of some loose chips will be there. So with high speed, it may not be appropriate to use on the national highways, but surface dressing is a good one for low to medium roads, traffic roads.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then we also have another tool. We have Slurry Seal as a preventive maintenance. We have a IRC code, which is a very good code for slurry seal and microsurfacing, SP81. It's a mixture of fine aggregate, slow setting emulsion, water and additive if required. It's good for asphalt pavement with the hairline cracks. We saw that, those check marks or whatever, we can use slurry seal on that. But again, on national highway, it will kind of wear off within a year or two. Apply with a self-propelled slurry seal machine. I will show you a picture of that. 3 types of slurry seals are there based on thickness and aggregate size in that IRC SP81. Type 1 is only 3 millimeter, so it uses just like sand. Type 2 is 4 to 6 millimeter. Type 3 is 6 to 8 millimeter. It's good for low to medium traffic and city streets. It's really good for city streets, because our curb height is maintained. We don't want to put a BC and layer after layer of BC on city streets. Here is a picture of the slurry seal machine. Again, on the left side you see type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 2 would be to correct raveling and oxidation. Type 3 uses a larger aggregate. So if I got minor surface irregularities, they can be filled out. Also it will restore some surface texture, but don't expect it to fill up all the depression or anything like that. So in the picture you see the slurry seal machine in operation. There is another slurry seal machine picture. They also have on the back, they have like a burlap. The slurry seal comes out like a Portland cement concrete. It like pours like concrete, it just kind of flows out, and then you have a burlap to just give a rough texture. There is another picture of a slurry seal machine. It's from the US, I think. Then we also have microsurfacing, which is getting more popular actually in India. Somehow the slurry seal didn't pick up here. The microsurfacing is kind of has come up, more in use right now, and that's also in SP81 of IRC code, which is a very good code. It is similar to slurry seal, but main difference is that it's a polymer modified bitumen emulsion is used in this one. There are two types, type 2 and type 3, and you can see different thicknesses. Type 1 is not in the IRC code, type 1 is in ASTM and ASTO code, but we didn't include the type 1. Can also be used for rut filling. The one advantage I have seen is in the microsurfacing is that on the international, on our national highway, if I got rutting in the wheel track area, I can fill up only the rutted part with the microsurfacing, and it is good stability. So it will fill up that, level it off, and then you can put some BC or whatever you want to put, but it's good for rut filling. It's very highly stable. That's one advantage. So on heavy traffic road wears, but the problem is that it wears prematurely in wheel track area. On Jaipur Agra road, I applied. After 2-3 years, there was a lot of rain, so they had some fatigue cracking, whatever. So they put a microsurfacing on the top of that. So after 2 years, I saw that it was okay everywhere except the wheel track. It is completely worn out due to traffic. So, but it's still good for streets and other state highways. So what is microsurfacing? It's a mixture of polymer modified emulsion, crust aggregate, mineral filler, water and additive. I'll show you a picture of that. And here you can see on the left top you can see a mineral filler is coming from like a square type container, and then on the left again in the left top you see a crust aggregate is coming from that triangle type device coming. Both are coming to the conveyor, and they are combined and they come into the mixture where we add polymer modified emulsion, water and chemical additive. So it is all mixed up in the mixture and is laid in the back. There is a spreader box here. It just comes out just like cement concrete. You also see a water sprayer at the bottom on that bottom left. That is just to wet the surface. We want to wet the surface before I put down this microsurfacing. Just like when you put cement concrete, you try to wet the surface. So spreader box here. This is the same thing here. Is just says gives some timing here that it's moving towards left. The mixing time is about 15 to 45 seconds. Look at the bottom, the bottom of the slide, and the mixture is brown, homogeneous. It breaks like within 60 to 120 seconds, like becomes from brown to black, and you can apply traffic in approximately 1 hour. So unlike slurry seal, microsurfacing is breaks very good, fast. So personally I like microsurfacing. Is a good preventive tool for city streets when you are on the verge of raveling. Why to put like a layer of BC or PMC or whatever, just put micro seal. You are extending the life of the pavement for 3-4 years. Okay, we already talked about that. It's the same thing like slurry seal. You can fill the rut, restore skid resistance, reprofile to some extent, provide wearing course. Okay, here is the microsurfacing that equipment. The whole thing is the equipment in the truck. Here you see the operation. The microsurfacing is coming out in the back. On the left side is black. It's a big machine. It has everything in there: aggregate, mineral filler, polymer modified emulsion. Everything is built in there. Another close-up. You see the microsurfacing coming out like in brown color. It will turn black in 1 or 2 minutes. And here is the close-up of the microsurfacing. You can see it will give us a good skid resistance. Then
this can be applied in the anti-stripping agent.
Yeah, usually they will add anti-stripping agent also in there. Yeah, that's part of the chemical additive. Then we have the crack sealing. Prevents the ingress of water which may be detrimental to the pavement, because if I don't see the crack which is going to the DBM and BC, it will start to affect the WMM and all that. Water can really go down. Crack can be sealed, whether their cracks are fatigue cracking or thermal or reflection or whatever. We do need to seal the cracks, But if I have hairline cracks, like which is we define as less than 3 millimeter, they are too narrow to fill. It's no way you can fill them out, So if there are too many of them, the best thing is to consider slurry seal or surface dressing, because there are too many. If they are here and there, then you can just ignore. If the cracks are 6 to 20 millimeter, they need to be routed, cleaned and filled. I don't know whether routing is done in India, but in the US, they have a machine which will widen that crack to one width, so you can really fill out with the asphalt rubber sealer. Routing means, equipment to kind of get like similar width, and that way the geometry of the crack is improved, and the sealer will stay there longer. If you got 20-25, then you just clean and seal it. If you got more than 25 millimeter crack, then best thing is to use a sand asphalt mix, just put that sand asphalt mix in there. Yeah.
Cracks in a patch, there is a combination of this 3, 6 and 25.
With that combination of those, yeah.
All the combination of crack in a particular section.
Yeah, then it depends upon like
Mostly we see all
how much like quantity you have, If you got just a small amount of a particular category, you don't want to bring out that equipment only for that purpose, So you have to use your judgment to know which one is the more dominant, Yeah.
what's happening is there is a combination of cracks. We have been using slurry seal to close the cracks.
It was slurry seal was going inside the. You are using slurry seal throughout the width. Okay, you are using slurry seal throughout the width, yeah. Well, yeah. In that case, if you are got a very wide cracks, like more than 20 millimeter, 25 millimeter, I don't.
The crack is sealed, but you see after 6 months, it's opening again.
Yeah, it will open up again. I'm just guessing here. I'm just, Professor will add to that. If I got like 25 millimeter wide, slurry seal kind of go in there and fill that crack at that point in time. But after the water goes out or something, if it is on top, water goes out, it shrinks, water doesn't matter. But whatever excess is going into the crack, that's also going to shrink, So how your surface will appear of the slurry seal above the crack, I don't have much experience. I'm just guessing that might be a problem, Professor.
Yeah.
If the crack is too wide,
Too wide, this will not work.
It won't work. Yeah.
One is crack sealing, other is crack filling. When the crack width becomes more, you have to fill the crack. Sealing the crack will not work.
Yeah. What Professor is saying that if it is too wide, the slurry seal won't work. That it might open up again.
Combination means.
But
No, that's what. Depending upon the severity, whether wide cracks of 6 to 20 millimeter is more, if when compared to less than 3 millimeter, then you have to fill the crack.
Today, the cracks are about 3 mm, and one or two cracks will be around 25 mm.
Agree.
I have put slurry seal, and after 6 months I come back.
Yeah.
That 25 become as
Right,
quite opened up.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's what we were saying,
Yeah,
That's what we were guessing,
Yeah.
Because slurry seal has water in it, right? Water. So when the water goes out, its volume will be reduced, and there you got too much volume in there in the crack itself, So
That's what. So earlier in the previous lecture, he told about the rubber asphalt rubber,
yeah,
which
that's
will not be allowed in India.
in years, yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's what we are discussing.
Rubber is bitumen.
The crack sealing materials.
Yeah.
The use of emulsion and VG bitumen is not appropriate crack sealing material because it will shrink or flow out and track. What was seen in the US, they were also using like VG30 whatever. So in the summertime, when the pavement will expand, your crack width will be reduced. So if you already filled with the VG30 or whatever, then that will force it to flow out because it's narrow now, and the traffic will track away. And then the winter comes again, so it will be empty. So this thing doesn't work, So you have to use a modified bitumen or rubberized bitumen are most suitable, and there are ASTM standards for that. And this is where the CRMB is good, The only place I hear for CRMB is this one. In USA they have they make CRMB, and they make blocks of it, and that contains a lot of rubber, not like it might have like 20%, 25% rubber. So at room temperature it's like a block. And then they will bring a melting machine, which I'll show you in the next picture. On the side they will melt it, So CRMB is supplied in like a blocks, plastic covered bags, and it's melted and then fill the cracks. So I think there's a lot of room. Somebody starts this industry in India and promotes that idea. It will really pick up.
Even pellets are being prepared with Rakam rubber.
Yeah.
You can inject the pellets.
Yeah. Are they available in India? Pellets?
No.
So it's a good startup business for India if somebody wants to work. Somebody wants to leave L&T and start this business. It's a lot of scope. And I'll give many references in the US who will help you out, So it's melted in a small tanker and applied under pressure with a wand. And this guy is exactly doing the Crafco is the company which is supplying most of the CRMB in the US for crack sealing. And I know many people down there, they will help you to set up. So those blocks or pellets are thrown in that melter, and then under pressure there's a wand here, and look at this person is filling the crack, which is kind of winding now. It's kind of going here around like that, So this will stay there because it's rubber in there, so expand, contraction. So this is the most common used in the US, and this is what we must introduce in India. Is too much lack of that. Okay, now last item is corrective maintenance pothole patching, and it's a long item. I told you can start up that business of asphalt rubber for crack sealing. There's another business which I'm going to tell you now. You can start it. You can leave L&T. So we'll talk about patching with hot mix asphalt, and patching with ready-made cold mix. These are two things which I think you've got to address this in L&T when you have BOT project or whatever you're doing. You've got to do something about the patching. Just a typical pothole, just somebody says no fishing allowed here. The PWD is not filling it out. I saw in Bangalore there was somebody put an alligator in the pothole, and just to have Bangalore Municipal Corporation to do something about that. One thing I found, Professor, I travelled in Chennai. Chennai roads are much better.
Yeah, correct.
I didn't see many potholes or anything. They're very smooth.
Sir, these are all recently laid.
Even then, the Chennai roads are better than Bangalore roads. I have seen.
Yeah. I would say that, because that's the only thing I see when I go out somewhere, Like in Jaipur, they have adopted BC. From 2010, my recommendation on the roads are much better. Before they were doing PMC, SDBC, whatever. But I see in Chennai, whatever I've travelled, So the potholes come like into all shapes and different designs or different, like here you got twin potholes. They are pretty common near manholes and all that. And this came from US. You got water in there. In the state of Pennsylvania, it rains like 100 days in a year. Typical rains like throughout the year. Here we have monsoon for 3 months. We got a lot of newspaper are filled with that Bangalore and all kind of problems, potholes everywhere. If we send up, and they always blame on monsoon. It's monsoon. It's not our fault. It's nature's fault. It will happen. They brainwash the public that potholes will occur during the monsoon. Nothing can be done about that, and that's only for 3 months. If we send our engineers to USA, it rains throughout the year. How can they blame? They cannot blame anything, there. So when you have this kind of thing, you still got to fill the potholes. So the preferred method, hot mix with the hot mix asphalt, is a preferred method by most highway agencies, but it needs a ideal weather. It should be hot and dry. We cannot use hot mix asphalt during monsoon or extreme weather, extreme winter, because the plants are shut down. Potholes become larger and deeper during monsoon. In Jaipur they used to fill like dirt or whatever, you know, until the monsoon is not suitable for isolated potholes. Supposing on your NH job, you know, you got like 5 potholes. One is here, one is a half kilometer away, one is 2. I mean, how do carry hot mix there to do hot mix repair? It's a labor intensive because you have to square the pothole, you have to clean the debris, and then you have to apply tack coat. So it's a labor intensive. It's also material intensive because it needs emulsion for tack coat. You got to carry, and you pay extra for emulsion. It's equipment intensive because you need a roller to compact the hot mix, such as BC. You cannot compact with hand. And you have all seen this slide here, like on the top left is a pothole cross section. On the top right you have to square it, make it like vertical, and then in the left, in the middle you have to apply a tack coat to the bottom and the side, and then in the middle on the right side we have to get a roller to roll the hot mix, and then at the bottom you have a finished patch repair. So these are the operations we have to do when we use a hot mix asphalt. This is just like a, I don't know, picture came from some other country trying to square the potholes, and here the patching is done, and the roller has to be brought, whether it's a small roller or large roller, it has to be compacted with the roller. So the US experience, I'm saying pothole patching with ready-made cold mix is very common in the US, especially during the winter time. The temperature goes like -10, -20, you know, so no hot mix plant, no hot mix paving is allowed. So the mix is made by the hot mix plant in the US prior to shutdown before winter and stockpile. So they can use throughout the winter, like 3-4 months, even during when it's raining or whatever. And the states usually have their own mix formula. Every state has their own cold mix formula, and most of the time it doesn't work. They consider that like more like a temporary patch, and then they say, well, we'll replace with the hot patch after the winter is over. Sometimes it's done, sometimes not done. There are private patented mixes are available in the US, just like we have Shell Mac, and the other one is Road Grip. Is that from Road Bond from Hinkol. Huh? So we have Road Bond, and they're pretty expensive. They're like 17 rupees per kg, 18 rupees per kg.
Aggregate plus make a binder.
Yeah, they'll supply you 50 kg bag,
Yes.
and it costs like 17 rupees per kg, and it's patented. We don't know what is in there. We cannot test it, whatever, and it works. Yeah, it works. Really works. Yeah.
Yes.
But what I'll give you alternate for 6 rupees per kg, which you can start your own business. That's what I'm going to cover. So they buy our Rajasthan PWD, people will buy those bond grip or whatever that is, you know, Selmec, and that's used only in the VIP area. If there's a pothole they will send, that is very expensive. So in the US experience there was a need to develop a durable cold mix, and I had the privilege to lead the research when I was working in Pennsylvania to develop a durable cold mix, and the objective was that the mix should be able to be produced by contractors using local materials at low cost. Shelf life of at least 6 months. It should be idiot proof. I mean, you don't have to follow everything. It's just like in hot mix. Idiot proof means you dump it there, you know, compact it and walk away, and perform equivalent to hot mix. So that was a very tall order to do that, you know. So but the challenges of mix design. How do we design a mix, you know, which you can stockpile, keep it for 6 months, and then you put in the pothole and it works, you know. Because the properties required for mix workability and stockpiling are contradictory to those required once the mix is placed in the pothole. I'll just give you an example. Aggregate gradation. You need an open aggregate gradation which will give you a good workability, but the dense gradation will work better in a pothole. These are opposing demands, you know. Then aggregate shape. If you got a round aggregate, then it will be good for good workability, but angular aggregate will be better once placed in the pothole. So these are opposing demands, you know. And then binder viscosity. should be low for good workability but high when placed in pothole. So to meet these challenges, we thought over about quite much about that, thought about the gradation, and so we came up with these new concepts. That what if we use a finer and predominantly one size aggregate that will give us a good workability, and once it is in the pothole, it will give us stone on stone contact for strength in the mix, just like SMA. So that was one concept we adopted. Use a clean aggregate, that is, dust should be less than 2%, so it gives tackiness to the asphalt binder. So no tack coat is needed. We are not going to apply any tack coat. It's a idiot proof mix, you know. Just like Cellmac, they don't allow any, they don't use any tack coat. Third is that use angular aggregate. Due to one size, it is still workable because it's not graded, but it also will give you good interlocking once it's in the pothole. Adequate amount of asphalt binder is important for workability and durability. So with that, we came up with this gradation in the US, in Pennsylvania, and you have to use exactly that gradation. If you are going to produce this mix, you cannot deviate from that, because that was obtained after a lot of research. Especially you look at the bottom, the 75 micron should be less than 2%. If it's more than 2%, it simply won't work. It will start to ravel out, it will come out. So to fine tune the aggregate gradation in Pennsylvania, I had to use different gradations on the job. So you can see two trucks, carrying cold mix with different gradation, and then we will choose a pothole, and half of the pothole will fill with one gradation and half with another gradation. Just like here, there is nothing in the pothole, and here that E4 is a different gradation, R4 is a different gradation. So within the same pothole, you can really see the subtle difference, which one is better. If you try in different potholes, then every pothole is different. Depth is different, confinement is different. So based upon that, a lot of fine tuning, we came up with this ready mix, which uses medium curing cutback. We were using MC250 in the US, but in India, I went to MC800, which is medium curing cutback, because we have hot climate in India, and medium curing cutback contains kerosene. Although cutbacks are being replaced with the emulsion, we discussed that on day one, but in the US they are making exceptions that for ready-made mix you can use the cutback bitumen, and also for the prime coat you can also use the MC30 and MC70, which we talk about. In this ready-made mix, the binder content is 4.5% minimum residual. Residual means after the kerosene is not considered, then the residual. Use of anti-stripping agent is a must, and there is a test for doing that. There is an anti-stripping test are given in the specification. Production of the ready-made patching mix can be made in a small portable mix, and also a picture of that. It can also be made in a batch plant. In the US they use a batch plant. We can also use a batch plant in India. During production there should not be any open flame when MC800 cutback is using kerosene is being used, otherwise there will be safety hazard. This may require pre-drying of the aggregate in dryer and then mixing with the MC800 after it is cooled down. Temperature of dry aggregate can be 25 to 65 degrees Celsius. It feels like ambient temperature, doesn't matter. And the MC should be 75 to 95 degrees Celsius, so not very high temperature. In the US, after they make it, they keep a stockpile, and they will keep use that during the winter time. They make a stockpile of the ready-made mix. Here in the US, they are carrying this in the truck. They are carrying this cold mix in Pennsylvania. They'll fill the potholes, and whatever is left over will be just kept in the truck, and they can just use the leftover next day. There's no wastage at all. And here, look here, he's just throwing in the cold mix, so there's some water also in the pothole. He's just pressing that. We had to number some potholes to see how they work in our experiments. And in the US, they don't have any hand rammer like we have in India. Sometimes they just use the truck tire to compact it. and it worked pretty good. So that research was published in the US Transport Research Board in 1981. It was successfully used in Pennsylvania and other states since 1980. Then the US, there was a research program at the national level where they want to try this kind of mix from different states, and they chose 3 or 4 sites with different climate, and they tried different kind of mixes, cold mixes, including the one which I developed. And after 4 years, the one which we developed in Pennsylvania came out number 1. After 4 years, 78% of the patches survived. And then they just discontinued that study because many of the other mixes were already failed. So they did not spend any more money. So it was highly successful, in the US. So when I came back to India, I wanted to introduce that in here. And here, it's very difficult to introduce anything, new. Everybody says, no, here it won't work. Why it won't work if it works in the US in different climate? So I started to do some experiments in 2008. I had some volunteers from the Malviya Nestle Institute of Technology. I had volunteer students and faculty. We made some mixes in the lab. We put on the Jaipur streets, road filled pothole, very highly successful, lot of publicity, but nothing happened. Then IJM was working, has finished their Jaipur Agra road. So I convinced them that why don't you make in your batch plant, then you can use on your hot mix, this ready-made to maintain your fill your potholes. So they agreed, and my purpose was to demonstrate that it can also be made in India with the batch plant. So we used the IJM's batch plant on Jaipur Agra road, and so we made one batch out of it, poured it there, and then we filled out Murthy. I don't really know. That was a graduate student. He was in charge of the lab. Murthy. He passed away last year. He was in Hyderabad. My Khas, he was my main chela. He helped me out quite much. So we pour it out on a tarpaulin, and they filled bags, and they used on their BOT project very highly. They were very, very happy with that. Okay, all this slide is saying is that in the US they store in the stockpile, and I thought that in India the 50 kg bag will work, just like Selmac and is that road grip, they supply in 50 kg bags. So I thought that will be easier for India. So we started to do that with the bags. These are the kind of bags you can fill up that mix. Placement of this mix in pothole, no preparation of pothole is needed except to sweep off loose debris or rainwater. If there is extra rainwater, you sweep it off. Mix can be compacted with a hand rubber. For deep potholes, compaction should be done in 75 mm layers. Start compaction from outside to center of pothole. Compact mix should be about 10 mm above the road surface, so the traffic can do further densification. Sprinkle some sand to prevent pickup by traffic. In Jaipur they put some leaves in there, Professor. Leaves also work, You got some shrubs nearby, put some leaves and they're open to traffic right away, no problem. So here was a pothole, typical pothole on Nestle number 11 IGM job. So we just took out the debris out of the pothole. It is still kind of moist there. Put this mix here, this ready-made cold mix, very, very shiny. You don't need any tack coat. That's why you don't need tack coat, because you got a lot of shiny live bitumen there. Only 2%, less than 2% dust. Here is the compaction is being done with the hand rammer. Here is a compacted patch, and then you mark them, and then open to traffic. Here you can see on NH11 Jaipur Agra road. Nothing happened after rains and traffic. That patch is still there, and that's the same patch after many rains and traffic. Then within Jaipur city, there was no raining was taking place, so I had IGM people come there in Jaipur street to demonstrate, that it works on the city or street. So we are putting some water in there to simulate rain, more water. And then these are the IGM people, who came as a volunteer. So making these two pothole patches, twin. You see the same pothole patches. Here there is a black, the same pothole patches. They are not rounding out. They are just confined there. There's sometimes kind of lock in there because the wall is not vertical. If there's a cavity there, they will kind of push inside that cavity and lock in there. It won't come out. So in JDA, Jaipur Development Authority, they said that if you produce a 5 ton of the mix, then we will start to use it. So that's what I did. Produced 5. They use this portable plant, which you can also use. Here is the portable plant they use for premixed carpet. On this side you are putting the aggregate, on this side you are putting the MC800. And here is the mix comes out. Then you put in the bags. And then here is a patch near the Chief Minister's house. If you got something manhole sticking out, just take a bag, and just put it, and compact it with a hand rammer. I'll just show you the last slide here. This was on Raj Bhavan Road. Here you see a pothole patching. You see that, note the shape of the pothole, and the STBC. This is a pothole in the STBC, and so here the contractor standing on the right side and fill the pothole with the JDA is very, very gracious. They call it Kandhal mix, after by my last name. I didn't tell them. They just when they put up the tender, they say Kandhal mix. So they are putting that in here, and then they're temping. You can see this is the temper is being used. So here is the patch made. Here is the STBC, and then next year we took the picture. What you see, the patch is still there. You see that STBC is gone on both sides. So what more proof you can? So this is very dramatic because this happens to be near my house. So I kept on taking picture. Yeah. So they named Kandhal mix. That's how they market. They make it. Now it's not mixed in Jaipur Development Authority. They award tenders about 1 crore worth every year. And whenever any contractor gets a job, I train the contractor as a volunteer. Here the bag they use is a plastic lined bag. It's like a seed type bag. It comes like for 10-12 rupees. There are a lot of market eco-friendly, effective, easy to use, made with Indian raw material. So finally, after a lot of persistence, I convinced the Indian Roads Congress to make it a standard, and that happened in 2014. It's IRC 116. It's a specification for ready-made bituminous pothole patching mix using cutback bitumen. So again, I showing this picture. That I have been very successful with the Jaipur Development Authority, but the whole India needs this pothole patching material. It's cost only 6 rupees per kg. As compared to 17 rupees per kg. I mean, you guys can start a business, make it with 6 rupees kg and sell to the local market, petrol pump. There are many residential communities, where there are potholes. You can go out and say, okay, you got 15 potholes. I'll charge you so many thousand rupees. I'll do it. He'll be very happy. Yeah. Otherwise, he has to contact some hot mix plant or whatever. And you just tell him, okay, so you need good marketing. Yeah. But the main thing is that how come the PWDs in India or NHI, why they are not promoting this thing, which has no patent, nothing, no whatsoever. I don't have anything to do with it. I don't gain anything to do with it. I don't have any franchises. People tell me that, why didn't you get franchise? What kind of money I'll make with the franchise? All that is open. So here we have a IRC standard now, but personally I don't have any hope that somebody like Bangalore or whatever will adopt this. I have only hope from BOT contractor or the people who are building PMGSY roads. In Rajasthan, some of the contractors who have the PMGSY, they have to defect liability of 3 years. Yeah. So they are using this material, But other than that, frankly, I don't have. Personally, I feel not because I developed this mix, in the US. To me, this seems to be the answer to our pothole problem. I might be wrong, or either you tell me which. Do you have any other mix in mind which is very cheap and idiot-proof?